Ostleister says, yesterday I asked you a question about David Rock, and you asked if he had written any journals. I did some investigating. He is the co-editor of the Neuroscience Leadership Journal, and he has co-authored the majority of their papers. I highly recommend his work as someone who helps develop leadership talent in young adults. Sweet. The entire staff is composed of business people. So what this tells me is that the Neuro Leadership Journal is a commercial endeavor. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so take a look at this, if you will. This is the Neuro Leadership Institute, and I want to know, is this an academic journal for research, or is this like a commercial thing? So I do about here. Take a look at Ausleister. Okay. I'm going to read some of what David Rock wrote, okay, but I just want to make sure you understand the difference between what I'm talking about. So look, this is like Neuro Leadership Institute, okay? And you go here. So what do you see here at the titles? There's director, research director, consultant. Okay, there's a researcher, yeah. Director of delivery, VP of sales, managing director, engagement manager, lead consultant, finance, relationship, marketing, consultant manager, HR, consultant. Okay, so this is a business. Okay. If you look at something like, for example, another journal like Psychology Today, okay? For example, if you look like this is written by like PhD, right? PhD. Okay, these are all written by PhDs, okay? People who do research. When you go to the publication, though, look, we have CEO, president, editorial. We have an editor, creative director, editor, senior editor, news editor, okay, vice president. So this looks kind of similar to this thing, right? Where it looks like it's built as a business, like a business structure. It's for making money by selling something, selling information, essentially, usually. Okay, Journal of Applied Sports Psychology, okay? So here's a research journal. And if I go to About This Journal, for example, and I click on Editorial Board, what you see here is editor is an associate dean placed at a school. And then if you look at the editors, you see that basically all of them are based in university positions. And they have a position in the field of work that this journal is in. And essentially how it works is people submit to the journal, and the journal sends it to like 3 to 5 of these people who are peers in the field, who keep up on the research in every single journal. And they read the article and they critique it in terms of research quality and content. This is essentially like the way that like knowledge, I guess, makes its way through research that is funded as basic science or like unbiased science in a way into the field. And then from here it goes into kind of common consumption eventually. So just so you know that this is where we're starting from. Like this is clearly a for-profit institute. So when you look at the research here, you have to understand that it's funded by the institute, for the institute, under the initiative of the institute for their purposes, right? Okay. So that's not a bad or a good thing. It's just, it is a thing. So then when I go to look at this research, essentially what I wanted to do is I have to assume it's not peer-reviewed, because peer-reviewed research by definition is put out to peers in the field who are kind of like completely blind, don't know the author, and they don't know who the author is, and you don't know who they are, and they offer critique on your work. And this is the way that like famous people can have their work like continue to be verified and they aren't accidentally published because their name is famous, is that it's sent out blind to these editors, and it's sent out to a bunch of them who then vote on it and provide critique on it. And so when I look at the research in this journal, what I'm going to keep in mind is that as I'm reading it, that like it probably hasn't been peer reviewed, that it was probably researched with an agenda behind the funding, and that it was probably researched in the actual institute with a bunch of people who already believe in the precepts that are being researched. And the thing with knowledge is that it's not really as set in stone as a lot of us like to believe in kind of like pop culture, that most theorems are simply more or less our best guesses at how the universe works. Like if you look at gravity, for example, it's just kind of like what we've observed and we think that that's how it works, but we don't really know. And just a year and a half ago, we discovered a completely different way to understand gravity, which is changing, So then we have a theory, and the theory explains what we see. Then we find out that some other thing has to do with gravity, and all of a sudden the theory is like, oh, there's a hole in it, or there's an addition to it, and then we pull it on there. So that takes people who are like agreeing and disagreeing with certain paradigms, and those are often published in conjunction in the same journal. But when you have a journal coming from a certain institute like this, then everything gets funneled through a certain paradigm. And usually it also gets funneled through a certain methodology, meaning that everybody's doing the same methodology of research, whether it's clinical or qualitative or phenomenological, like interpretive phenomenological, then everybody's kind of like on board with that methodology. And so sometimes it can be really tough to get kind of like a distribution of thought and methods and ideas that leads to like robust knowledge building. That being said, I'm excited to read something from here because I think performance psychology should be transformed through neuroscience. I think psychology itself should be completely disabolished as a field. Like, think of it this way. We had Newtonian physics, and we accepted Newtonian physics because it was like we didn't have the tools to measure real physics, like quantum physics or the physics that Einstein predicted and showed that make essentially Newtonian physics is incorrect. It's just our best guess based on the large observables. And once we got more like targeted measurement devices, we were able to refine our theories past Newtonian physics and realize that they were incorrect. Same with psychology. Like psychology, we observe stuff, behavior outside the brain, we make guesses as to the system that's going on, and then we call it psychology. And as we're able to peer into the brain in more intricate ways and measure things that we couldn't measure before while people are doing activities, we can actually look at the neuroscience of behavior instead of the psychology of behavior, like the hardware instead of the software, and we can get theories that are accurate in terms of the biology instead of accurate in terms of like the supposed behavioral system. So I think neuroscience is going to replace a lot of psychological fields in the next 50 years, and leadership may be one of them. These social dynamic things that explain like why we act the way we do in groups, which has usually been the trend, or like the space for behavioral economics and these kind of like psychology behavior things. We might actually look in terms of neurology, which is much more exciting to me. Because like I have sleep trackers on the guys' beds that track their autonomic nervous system, so their sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and that to me is way more science of performance than like looking at them and saying, are you focused now and are you not focused? Then you should get more sleep, because then I actually know what their brain is doing instead of just kind of guessing at the system based on their behavior. Just a short example of like how you can push the edges of performance psychology from psychology towards neuroscience in a really like easy way nowadays. Weldon, I want to coach a youth soccer team, but I'm afraid of screaming kids. How should I go about coaching them while still making sure they are having fun? Games, lots and lots and lots of games. Every single thing you want to teach, turn it into a game, whether it's trust or respect or teamwork or goal shooting, and come up with a different game every time, and then pay attention to the ones they like the most and do those, and the ones that they like the least, don't make them do again. When I was coaching a youth soccer team, I essentially just did games, and you can do all sorts of like, and remember that breaks from games, so like when you give them a surprise, like, hey, we're going to do ice cream, we're going to do some fun game that you like that doesn't have anything to do with soccer, like dodgeball or something like that, like pick it up with your hands, those kind of things, that they work a lot better when they're anticipated. So if you surprise them with it, it's kind of exciting at the time, but it doesn't last. Once it's over, they just want it again. It's like that rush, right? But if you put it off, you say, okay, at the end of practice, if you do really well, we're going to play this game. And then they anticipate it the whole practice, and they get to do it. Then it's much more satisfying afterwards. It lasts longer. So games, and then also anticipation of things that are breaks from work. Essentially, anticipation and waiting and waiting and waiting and putting off and sacrificing for it so they can do it later, and then they get to enjoy it, and then, yeah, then it's fun. I'd rather TSM lose to P1 than CLG. I'd rather lose to CLG than P1, but I'm not going to learn. I don't want to lose to either. So losing to learn is overrated. Depends on, Fierty Pest Rule says, I want them to lose so they learn and get better. We have plenty of losing in scrims to learn from. We don't need to lose in competition too. If the journal is a tool to sell business, I understand this may mean that it is biased, but does it mean that it is completely irrelevant? Absolutely not. It just is. That's just what it is. It's not good or bad. It's not relevant or irrelevant. This is the structure that brought forth this knowledge. Ergo, it has to be understood in order to interpret the knowledge that it has brought forth. Coral Wolf says the main concern is they aren't going to have good methods, so the information isn't reliable. No, that's not the main concern. The main concern is they're going to have one method, and so the information is from that method. But there are other methods, and so it's not going to be holistic. It's going to be unilateral. They will spend the money to do it right, but they're often biased toward a certain paradigm, not philosophy. Philosophy, usually there's a couple different philosophies, but paradigm is like the way that you see the world kind of as a belief structure, or the way that you see leadership as a belief structure, and all of the people who are doing these research see it as neuroscience. So where are the contesting voices, you know what I mean? Ausleister says, I guess I believe in models and systems that have developed because I have found a lot of success using them. Yeah, anything that's successful for you is anecdotal and very useful. Sarek21. Okay, this last conversation was pretty deep. Here's a silly one. If Doublelift is my dad and you are his dad, does that make you my grandpa? Yes. Does physical or mental preparation assist more in performance in esports? Physical preparation. You can get all mentally focused and then like go to the computer, and if you're a shit player, you're still bad. Doesn't help at all. Whereas you can be Challenger 2 and not mentally prepared at all and go to the computer and you'll still be Challenger rank 2. So physical preparation, get good, then use mental prep to get consistent. But how do you speed up your physical prep? It's mental, because it's actually one system. That's the trick. You said, is it physical or mental? Well, you move your body with your brain. So training your fingers is training with your neurons. It's the same thing. There's no such thing as a difference between physical and mental prep. You just prep. Are you at the team has TSM house right now? Yes. What and how do you sleep track measure? I measures their heart rate and tests their heart rate variability. Hey, Weldon, what would you say is the most important lesson to achieve a better mindset when approaching challenges in life? Acceptance and stoicism. Have you given TSM a bedtime? Nope. I just train them till they're so exhausted they can't stand up anymore, and then they fall over and pass out, and I put them to bed and tuck them in. Who do you predict that will be the next person to accidentally set something on fire? Svenskaren. Dildo thief. Hey, Daddy Weldon, please slay me. The Zonic. Do you have any tips to relieve stress, frustration when playing League? Yeah. No sound. Mute everybody on your team. Build troll builds on weak champions so that like you can always have an excuse for sucking and laugh it off. Always try to target AD carries and make it your mission. Like give yourself little training goals. Like I'm going to try to ult this one person every single fight and kill him, and I'm going to stalk him around the map and just do that and stuff like that. Because tilting other people is immensely satisfying and relieves a lot of your stress and frustration. Mowing the lawn asks, in your opinion, how much practical effect does short periods of meditation during the day have on you? If you do 8 cumulative hours of meditation over approximately 12 weeks, research has shown that it has a measurable impact on the way your brain is wired up. So it has a really direct impact on everything in your life. Dildo Deep, thank you for slaying me. You're welcome. I just finished watching an anime, catching up on an anime that Doublelift recommended to me. So I have seen a sword fight recently and a lot of disemboweling. It was pretty graphic. Draxology, can you adopt me, please? Nope, I have 3 kids. How can I improve my willpower through doing willpower stuff? Having more focus, getting more sleep, and meditation and acceptance. What's the best way to practice at things such as League and applying what I've learned? Practice at League, just play lots of it and criticize yourself. Apply what you've learned by finding out how to value what you apply what you've learned. If you learned it, you're already applying it. If you haven't learned it yet, then you haven't learned it yet, so you need to apply it. Applying what you want to learn, maybe, is what you mean. Maybe you mean you logically learn, but you can't physically do, which means you haven't really learned it yet. You just know it. So, not sure what the question is. Charlie Ball 002. For Counter-Strike, what are your thoughts on finding the perfect crosshair or aspect ratio? I trained with no crosshair, so I would just put a dot. And then aspect ratio, just copy what the best players in the world do. And if they do something different, pick your favorite and then copy his or hers. Thanks for the answer. To follow up, any advice on meditation, where to do it, how to do it? Yeah, go to mindgames.gg/courses. I just finished uploading my course, 50-day course on meditation for esport performance. And I actually need to put it up for sale and think of a price for it now. So, yeah, but it should be there when I do that in the next few days. What do you do when you aren't playing or coaching? I study. How's the transition been moving your family to a whole different country? It's not a big deal. We're from America, so we just came to America. And it's like a vacation because we're in California. We have a yard, so the kids are just outside playing all day with no clothes on, which is totally different than Finland, where you have to wear like 18 layers of clothes. Do you know Last Shadow? Yes. What do I think of his coaching? I think he's very knowledgeable about the game. I think his ability to affect other people's behavior is limited because coaching people is different than coaching. Coaching people is what coaching is, and the other thing is just knowing the game. But he does a lot of one-on-one coaching, and so I think that makes him set up to be better as a team coach than most people. What was your family's reaction when you told them about the new job and the move to NA? Well, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, so their reaction was nothing, and because they don't understand. And I didn't tell my wife about a new job or move to LNA. We discussed it because we have a marriage, not a dictatorship. What do you think of the growth of esports and how far do you think it will go? I think that anything that can get people's attention and hold it is valuable. And the more people pay attention to it, the more valuable it becomes. And the more valuable it becomes, the bigger it will grow. Dragon9652, do you feel like TSM Legends portrays an accurate image of the players and their personality to the fans? I think Max does the best job of any reality show on any team that I've ever seen, and I think it more reflects exactly what's going on than any other of the reality shows. By far. Hashtag. What has been your favorite part of working this job? Getting to do League of Legends all day. What are your thoughts on applying research and creativity towards game performance? I do that. And my thoughts on it are good idea. Do it. Byronic says, I'm playing Overwatch and it's the first game I really want to take seriously and try to be high rated in. Do you have any tips for playing the game to improve rather than just for fun? Yes. Record what you're doing and watch yourself and critique yourself and take responsibility for every single mistake that your team makes. Figure out how to improve. I really like League of Legends, but I don't have any motivation to play. Do you have any tips to make me excited to play? If you don't have any motivation to play, then it's probably not your thing. Don't try to be motivated to do things that you don't want to do. Just find out what you are motivated by and all in on it. That's my tip to you. Life's too short. Find out what turns you on and go for it. Are you more of a cat person or a dog person? Dog person. Cats just hate me. I love cats, but they don't like me. Dogs, though, kiss me. Do you feel gaming houses are possibly detrimental to your team relationship? No, I think esports athletes are more or less college age at the moment. Most of them skip out on college to do this, so it's like kind of really similar to living in a dorm. Doesn't really affect the team relationship that much. It can have its benefits. Do you think constantly sharing a living space with your coworkers can lead to a negative environment? Sure, if you're like in your 30s or late 20s. What do I think about Monte Cristo? I love him to death. What do I think his opinion of NA? It's not an opinion, it's a fact. I mean, what is his opinion about it? His opinion is Korea is better than NA. Every single time Korea plays NA, they beat them. So is that an opinion or a fact? Who's your favorite on the team? Me. You probably wouldn't have time for it, but I bet if you did a podcast, it'd be super popular. Your YouTube is great in the meantime. I did a podcast. It was not super popular. YouTube is much better. People in esport watch videos. They don't listen to things or read things. But I want to produce my YouTube and this as podcast. So I need to figure out how to host that up and scrape the audio and throw it up there automatically. Do you think competitive League will be around for a decade or longer, or will it die out later on? I think that League of Legends, unlike traditional sport, which is culturally controlled in terms of the laws it follows, League of Legends is controlled by market forces. So as soon as another game comes along that says, like, I'm a better MOBA than you, and the market says, fuck you, Riot. This game sucks and my game's better, and the market votes with their wallet, that's when League of Legends dies. So understand that esport right now is completely market-based, not cultural-based, like baseball or football or these kind of things, right? So if the market is absolutely merciless. It doesn't obey people's whims. It doesn't obey people's like desires and dreams. It just like stuff that wins and stuff that loses. So if a company comes along and does a MOBA better than Riot, and everybody votes with their wallet that that's the better MOBA, League will die. And if they don't, then League will win. And all the people who hate League will keep hating League, but if it keeps winning on the market, it will like keep crushing it. If they keep innovating, if they stay ahead of the competition. If they don't, then they'll get massacred, and that'll be the end of it. But it's a pretty big company now, so the death will be slow. That's what I think about esport and longevity. I think it could last decades. Because nowadays games don't have to sit around being the same game. Like, they can just continue to be upgraded on new tech. The key is how well that Riot as a company can create entrepreneurship or acquire additions to the game that like keep it at the top of its level. What do you find is the best way to deal with performance anxiety? Exposure to understand what is performance anxiety and what is just nerves, like first time nerves and jitters. And then once you get rid of the first time nerves and jitters after about 3, 4, 5 times, then what remains is performance anxiety, and then you have to cope with it. And everybody has different mechanisms of coping. My favorite mechanism is to understand that it's essential and necessary to understand the biological processes behind why you feel those things that you feel, which is universal among humans, and it's chemical. It's not like some sort of mystical spiritual butterfly inside your stomach going like blah, 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 blah. It's just chemicals. So when you understand the cascade of chemicals and what they go through and why they are necessary for performance, then you just accept it and you lean into it and you let it rip. As in, like, you let loose and go all in. Not like let it rip as in you just fart. Tomato or tomato? Tomato. How much of a role do you feel diet has in mood and ability to improve at something? Quite a lot. And vitamin D. How to help prevent wrist pain, repetitive stress injury, I assume RSI. I see EU players use a tape, NA players most often use wrist brace. Sleep with the wrist brace, use the tape for performance. Lots of stretches, gymnastic stretches, and strengthen these muscles here, especially the underarm. I really enjoy playing League, but I prefer watching or to playing. How can I make them equal? Don't worry about it. Just enjoy what you enjoy. Self-awareness is key here. If you enjoy watching more than playing, then you enjoy watching more than playing. Be happy with that instead of trying to change yourself. How do you impact so many teams? Because every team you've helped out seems like they're always successful. I just go over the basics and the basics and the basics. I am Riven God. How do you feel about Zlatan buying Manchester United? I didn't know he was that rich. Can you watch anime without subs? Yes. Take Japanese in college or free time? Neither. I lived in Japan and then I just learned it by studying it every morning from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. and then going to work on things, and work was in Japanese, so that helped a lot. Pagan 1 million. I'm currently in my 4th year of community college, trying to transfer to university. However, I tried last year and didn't make it to any. If I don't make it to colleges this year as well, what should I do? Looking to be an accounting major. Do what you want to do. So if you want to be an accountant, try to be an accountant. Go work in an accounting office. Keep applying to college till you get it. If you don't want to, then don't do it. I'm Vepa. Take a year off. That's also a good idea. And travel around the world. And if you are from America, you can travel to many third world countries and get a job teaching English or speaking English. So go do that for a year and make a ton of money in Thailand or Vietnam or China or United Arab Emirates or maybe not Syria. Recommend against Syria. And then go to a university in Europe and study accounting there, because it's probably cheaper. Do you feel if TSM lose Worlds, the squad will stay together for another season? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Vordak Kalagra. I mean, it's a really good question, and I don't know the answer. Would you rather fight one Cho'Gath-sized Teemo or 100 Teemo-sized Cho'Gaths? I think a Cho'Gath-sized Teemo would destroy the universe. So probably the Teemo-sized Cho'Gath, because then it would be a Cho'Gath, not a Teemo. Which TSM player would you choose to be your son if you had to? None of them. I have 2 sons. What's the most surprising thing about one of the players you did not expect? Can't really talk about that. At the team's current rate of improvement, where do you think the team will project by the time Worlds rolls around? Or do you not even think about that? I want to win Worlds. So, hopefully best in the world. How can you control your time and league? LOL, people are addicted. A lot of people are addicted. I'm not really convinced about addiction unless it's actual addiction. If it's about control and time and league, well, depends on kind of like what you're doing with your life, whether or not it's a waste of time or not. I'm opposed to wasting time, but I don't think everybody's wasting time. I think maybe other people in society are defining them as wasting time when in reality they aren't. What are your thoughts on Gary Vaynerchuk? He's the greatest of all time ever. Valve's being sued for permitting gambling in CSGO. Really excellent. By who? Just wanted to say it was pretty awesome how much you frequent the TSM subreddit. Thanks. I live on Reddit pretty much nonstop. Well, everybody's yelling at me to be a sellout. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name's Weldon. Donate to my stream. You'll find the link below. Is that enough sellout for you? Somebody be my first donation ever. I actually wonder if I have a donation. There are no donations. How much money would you say you need to travel around for a year? We traveled the world. Maybe like, depends. If you have paid for your airline tickets already. Oh my God, it depends on so many different things. I don't think there's a good answer for that. Less than 25,000? More than 5,000? Do you think Chinese teams will do better at Worlds this year? Not sure. Who's the cutest of them all? I think you're talking about TSM players, so probably me. Toast or bagels? Bagels. Cooking breakfast while listening to Weldon. No way it can taste as delicious as CLG tears. Correct. I was in the military for 9 years with 4 years experience as a leadership supervisor. This is from Trizlex, T-Kizlex. Most of what you talk about reminds me of my training. 4 years of Taekwondo. I don't have a bachelor's, but military is paying for it. I've started looking into something related to gaming coaching. Do you believe teams would be interested in individual by talents? No, they're interested in people who can brand it themselves, who have your talents. So, okay. Yes. Okay. T-Kizlex. Teams are interested in winning. They don't care about anything else. So, if you can come in and you can help them win, then they're interested. And if you can't, then they're not. It's quite simple. So what you do is you find a way to take what you do and make a team win. And everything should be focused on outcome from your end, not on what you do. Like what you do with teams is usually focused on the process, and that then engenders them to win more, right? But on your end, everything is like focused on like how, like cutting out all the flack and improving performance. So if something worked in Taekwondo and it doesn't seem to apply in esport, like you got to be ready to drop that like a hot pancake. And if something seems to work in esport, but you're not quite good at it because it wasn't that popular in Taekwondo, you got to be ready to become a world expert at it in like a week. So once you can succeed in improving performance, then it's all about marketing, setting up your business and saying like, this is what I do and this is how I do it, productizing your service. So you provide a service, productize it. What is it called? How much is it? How much people do you need for a day? What does the job look like? Do you do it by distance or location? Is it like spread over how many months? Does it happen in LA or in Berlin or online? You turn it into a product with all of these attributes, and then you sell it at a price point. And that's what teams are interested in, is a productized service that brings results that they don't have to understand or work on, that is very easy to just like take off the shelf and purchase, and wins them games. Check donations. Okay. This donation brought to you by Red Bull trademark LSM Judoka. Oh, is this a judo guy? Thank you, LSM Judoka, for the amazing donation. Lol, Shans, I did this because you told me to. Wait, people do what I tell them? So I just like tell you, donate. People donate? This is the internet, baby. This is insane. It's like the future of the world here happening. I'm going to spend this money on smoothies for Double Lift. Probably. Because I owe them a lot of smoothies. This is an indirect way to buy smoothies for TSM, you guys. Just realized. Is there a YouTube video out there where you speak in front of many people about a certain topic that I can see? I have a couple of videos of me doing public speaking, but I didn't put them up because they aren't very well edited together and you can't hear me because I'm not mic'd. I donated $150 to you with the instructions to take the team out to dinner and sincerely thank them for me from the fans for their hard work and dedication. Do you accept it and keep your word? Yeah, we'd probably go out after we curb stomped CLG and we would have Japanese barbecue because there's a really good Japanese barbecue place nearby, which funnily enough, I went there and it was the kind of barbecue they have in Japan, which in Japan is actually Korean barbecue. So it's just like Korean barbecue done Japanese style, done American style Japanese barbecue. So it's like third removed from Korean barbecue. So I don't understand why you just wouldn't go to Korean barbecue. But actually it's in the Japanese barbecue, they do it with Japanese taste palette, which is a little different than the Korean taste palette. So yeah, it's interesting. Since Vincent is playing amazingly and the hype is starting to build, and are you doing anything to keep us playing at a high level and protect him from the stress since he's feeling the kind of publicity? Yes. Dump the stress on top of him and help him handle it. You don't protect people from stress. That's a dumb idea. It's like where did this concept of putting people in bubbles and trying to protect them from stress and from the fans and from notoriety and from all this stuff come from? So none of it's based on like any sort of research. You don't protect people from that. The fire of competition and the world is a harrowing, threshing fire that burns away the chaff of unaccomplished noobs. First of all, Vincent would not be able to play at this level if he couldn't handle the stress. Anyway, how many of you could get into a solo queue game with Double Lift and perform at a world-class level and beat out all the other people that he tried out with in terms of like clutch play? And then how many of you could like go on stage and pull off what he's pulled off? So he can handle the stress. What I'm teaching him is how to handle the performance consistency, what that looks like, what it feels like to perform at a consistent level, and things like that. That's kind of what you do with players. How do you deal with publicity? I think it's kind of like people who are mature can handle publicity, and people who aren't mature can't really handle publicity. So I think that if you want to help a player handle publicity, you should craft a team environment that maturely talks and deals with the themes that come along with publicity. And that is probably the best way to like systematize it as a group and kind of like make it a support group for these kind of like public issues. Like, let's say, for example, CLG is having trouble with who he's mindset due to all the publicity around his play. So the best thing that they can do is create an environment within the team that like laughs at that publicity and really supports who he and like works with him, and where it's not like shoved under the rug and ignored, but like it's dealt with in the group and he has the support of his teammates as he goes through that. So that's where you get the resilience from. Now I need to go to bed. It's 1 a.m. here. Good night, everybody. I have to take off. I really do. I need to walk home and go to sleep, and I hope that I don't get mugged on the way home. Somebody a couple blocks away got held up at gunpoint and robbed the other day. So not somebody like TSM related, like somebody a couple blocks away was robbed at gunpoint. So kind of nervous to walk home at 1 a.m., but the alternative is paying for an Uber, and I don't want to do that either. So, good night, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. Appreciate the stream. Come watch my Silver 3 grind to Diamond. Penguin or BioLift Penguin. Wish I could answer all these amazing questions. Follow me on Snapchat. I'll try to be Snapchatting the games tomorrow. My brothers are in town, so I probably won't be doing it all that much. But feel free to send me any messages, videos, pictures, things like that. I try to respond to them when I have a moment off to do Snapchat. And if I don't open them, it's probably because I'm trying to wait because they disappear and then I don't remember what was in them, so I can't reply properly. So I wait till I have time to sit down and then I open them all and reply. I basically have open DMs, as you'd call it, on Snapchat, so that people can just send me cool stuff. And I usually follow most people so that I can see your stories. It's really fun to see everybody's stories around TSM game time. A lot of people just hop into the game or are Snapchatting, they're TSM viewing parties, which is cool. So, okay. Good night, everybody. My Snapchat is Mind Games Weldon. Oh, it's right here right there. It's so awkward ending a stream. I never know what to do. I could just click the button and then it's done. So, goodbye.